you know. So the taste of the Nigerian populace for foreign commodities is killing our economy. The only reason the importer businessman is still in business is because you and I still want to buy foreign shoes. We still want to buy foreign shirts. We still want to buy Marks and Spencers. We still want to buy foreign glasses, foreign perfume. We still want to buy foreign. And so because there is a high demand in Nigeria, Nigeria is a consumerist nation, and because there's a high demand for foreign commodities, importation business continues to be a very lucrative business. And so to meet that demand, more people move into the importation business every single day. And so these many people operating in the importation business have become the agents of draining the Nigerian economy. Because for them to buy from China, from Germany, from Cambodia, from Venezuela, from wherever they're buying from, they need the dollar that we, the importers, have brought into the Nigerian economy. So they're constantly draining the Nigerian economy because of our taste for foreign goods. So if we will all say enough today, and we start wearing Nigeria, we start eating Nigeria, we start patronizing Nigerian companies that produce perfumes and shirts and glasses, eyeglasses locally. If we will all start consuming Nigeria today, the demand for the dollar will go away. What happens with the demand, supply and demand curve? When there is demand, prices go up. When demand is higher than supply, prices go up. When supply is higher than demand, prices crash. So if we will stop demanding the dollar like we are right now, it will die a natural death. The value of the dollar will come down. The Nigerian economy will be strengthened because we will now begin to produce and consume made in Nigeria. Does that make sense?
It makes a lot of sense.
So that's what it is.
Really clear. But at some point in China, they stopped all forms of import, so much so that they said within the country they would produce what they eat.
In China, right?
Yes.
Absolutely.
So
Great policy.
Is that a possibility, given what is going on?
Yes. Well, no country can live as an island. You need other countries. There's just no way you can produce 100% of everything you consume, because number one, you don't have all the technology in the world to produce everything you need. But what we're saying is let the percentage of what you import be much lower than what let the percentage of what you import be much less, right? So if we can bring it down to maybe 20 or 30%, and then we produce 70% of what we consume, Nigeria will be doing absolutely very well. And it's very possible. But you see, when it comes to food processing, for example, many Nigerians don't farm. Many Nigerians look at agriculture as a poor man's thing. And it's funny, because many of the Nigerian generals who were generals in the army own big farms. Look at Obasanjo. Obasanjo owns one of the biggest farms in Nigeria. Agriculture is big money, right? Without the farmer, all these companies that produce cornflakes, Cerelac, all these cereals won't survive. You need the farmer to produce the raw materials with which you're going to do the processing, right? So Nigerian government, first of all, has to invest heavily in production. There are three parts of agriculture. You have production, you have processing, and then you have the business part, which is marketing and distribution. But in that value chain, Nigerian government needs to invest billions into that place. But the problem is that they're stealing our money and cutting it away in private banks, in private bank accounts. If they will take all that money and invest it in agriculture, then the people who do the farming, either as livestock producers or crop producers, will be enough to supply the middle part of agriculture, which is the processor, right? And so if enough farmers are producing raw materials, food, and enough people are taking all of that stuff and processing them before we actually begin to sell, you see Nigeria will create millions of jobs and make a lot of money in IGR, and our GDP will grow, right? But what we're doing now is that even though we have lesser farmers, we're still taking what they produce and we're shipping it directly to the white man, giving them capacity to grow their industries and create more jobs for their people, while our own people are dying here. So what we need to do is invest in agriculture so that we'll have enough people producing food, and then invest in the middle sector, the processing part, so that we will have enough companies taking off from the farmer. When enough companies are in the middle ground taking off from the farmer, farming will become lucrative, and many Nigerians will go into it. So whatever they produce, we have enough companies processing who will offtake from them and ensure that they are paid handsomely, right? And so these middle people will take it, process it into finished products, and then do what we call, as they process it, they do value addition. And so they can afford to sell at any price they want to sell. So you find out that processing becomes profitable for them before they can actually export or even distribute locally. If you can do this, the Nigerian economy will get on auto cruise automatically.
Wow.
And things will change.
So as it stands, what happens is the farmers produce and then there is no processing, there's no middleman, and then it goes out and then it comes back to us, and then we lose our...
Two problems. One, we don't have enough farmers, right? If you would actually invest in processing right now, you find out that we don't have enough raw materials to go around. So number one, we don't have enough people farming, right? But the few people that we have farming, a lot of times, harvest and have no people to buy. Right? Look at what happens with tomatoes. A certain season every year, the price of tomatoes crash, and tomato farmers are begging. I was doing a program one time, and somebody called me from Benue State, and the young man was almost crying. He was like, "Please, what do I do? Me and the other tomato farmers in Benue are dying. We harvest tomatoes and there's nobody to buy. The price that we're selling is not commensurate to what we have suffered to produce the thing." And I said, "My brother, what you will need to do is find a little bit of capital. Start processing your tomatoes. So when that season comes, make sure you have cash to buy from your other, neighboring farmers. Buy up and then process them." I wouldn't actually say verbatim what I advise them to do, but process them. When you process, then that tomato can sit in your shelf for the next 1 year and 6 months. So if anybody is pricing peanuts, you tell them, "Away with you." Because it's not by processing it, you've increased the shelf life, and so you take time to sell it. So that's the problem. We don't currently have enough off-takers in the processing industry, and so farmers are suffering, and every other person is suffering. So if the Nigerian government was wise, what they'll do right now is invest heavily in industrialization, in production of food, processing of food, and then of course export.
The Minister for Finance said something about revenue income. Our income is
our revenue is not enough to meet our debt.
Yes.
So basically our GDP is not enough. Usually in economics you talk about debt to GDP.
Yes.
And so what that simply means is what's the percentage of your GDP that goes into debt repayment. And so you find out that a lot of times you find countries that have 70 to 30. So that is to say that 70% of their revenue is going into debt repayment. It's high. That's crazy. No country can run like that. Even if we're 50-50, no country can run like that. You take 50% of your GDP and then you use that to service debt. That's too high. You just can't survive. So our debt to GDP was very high. But the problem right now is that our GDP is not enough to pay our debts anymore.
Yes.
Yes. So what's going to happen now is that you take everything we make and then you try to service the debt and you still have a balance to pay. So what is left for you to run the economy? So anarchy is looming. What happened in Sri Lanka is about to happen in Nigeria. What happened? Sri Lanka was borrowed so much money from China and they were squandering and living large and doing projects that were not meaningful, And so right now, Sri Lankans are hungry. There are no jobs. The economy is dead. And the president takes 2 soldiers, enters a private jet and flies to Maldives, a beautiful vacation island. And then he leaves the people to suffer. And so the people are of course, they broke into the presidential, you saw the videos, they broke into the presidential palace swimming and went into the man's office. And there's anarchy right now in Sri Lanka. Now, if Nigeria were wise, we can see that this is going to happen. So you talked about the prediction I made.
Yeah.
In 2007, I saw all of this coming. In 2007, there was a credit crunch that affected countries around the world. Many banks, shut down. Many banks went broke because of the amount of money they loaned out to citizens. And immediately, the economy crashed. People couldn't pay back the loans they took, and so many banks had to fold, and it affected the world globally, right? And so, when that happened, some countries who used to buy oil from Nigeria stopped buying. America, for example, opened up their reserve. America is an oil producer, for example, interestingly, right? But what they did was they manufacture and they store. And so at that time, what they did, they stopped buying from overseas. They stopped buying from us. They opened up the reservoir and started selling from there. A number of other countries stopped buying from us. I got really scared. I saw all the red signs, right? And I said, listen, this is telling me, and Obama started a policy now of going green. So he started encouraging many car manufacturers to start manufacturing green cars, meaning cars that do not require petroleum products to run. Now, Charles, as somebody who's involved with the economy, I saw the danger for Nigeria. So I said, if they actually can scale this green car technology, what that means is that a couple of years from now, Nigeria wouldn't matter to the world anymore. Because what makes us important is our crude oil, which is the second best in the world, burning light. And so if the most of the world or most of our customers are going green, then there will come to a time when our crude oil will not be in demand. So what do we do then? And so I started preaching from that time in 2007, the diversification of the Nigerian economy. But nobody listened, right? And so that prediction was that when that time comes, we won't be able to generate enough revenue to run our economy. And Charles, 2007 till now is how many years? It's happening now. America is not buying from us. The UK is not buying from us. Most of Europe aren't buying from us anymore, right? And so that's why since 2007, the capital market almost crashed in 2007 as a result. And since then, the Nigerian economy has been shaken. Now, if our leaders were wise, what would they have done? If I were the leader of Nigeria, what I've done is do an audit of all the natural resources Nigeria has from that time, because I should have seen, of course I saw it, and I predicted that it's coming to a time when our economy is going to crash. It's happening now. Now, if I were the leader, what I would have done, do an audit of all the natural resources we have, right? Look for companies who are interested in these natural resources. Give them licenses to go in and start exploring. By simply doing that, you diversify the economy and you give our economy the chance to earn money from all sorts of angles. Nigeria would have been wealthier now. But no, corrupt politicians, lazy politicians, notionless politicians did not do anything about that. They kept squandering the oil money. Now, oil money is gone. What are we going to do? Nigeria, if anarchy hits right now, all of them will jump into their jets and go overseas, and Nigerians will begin to suffer, right? It's not too late. It's not too late. We need to make certain economic decisions right now if we must salvage Nigeria, you know? Because if we don't, really, anarchy is going to, hit us. And last year, I wrote a letter to an institute here, a Human Development Training Institute here. And I made another prediction. I said, now by third quarter, I'll love to show you that letter. And by third quarter of 2023, that the dollar is going to hit $1 to 1,000 naira. And I said to him, if we don't do something about this now, what is going to happen is that many products are going to go into the luxury list. Why? Imagine that we depend on a lot of imports. A lot of things that we eat are imported, right? And so if the dollar keeps going up, it comes to a time where the businesses can't afford anymore to import those things. Even if they can afford them, Nigerians can't buy them because the Nigerian income has remained stagnant. Some Nigerians were earning 30,000 3 years ago and are still earning 30,000 today with this high level of inflation. And so what that means is that they don't have the ability to buy stuff anymore. So a lot of the things they used to buy with that income, they can't buy anymore. So a lot of these products are quickly going into the product list. Number one, gas is one of those products. Number two, yam, common yam, is going into the luxury list right now because a tuber of yam is going for 3,000 now. And so wait a little longer, it's going to get to 5,000. So many Nigerian families cannot afford to spend money on some of these commodities, and these commodities will quickly go into the luxury list. So what's going to happen? Those companies will have stock and nobody to buy. And so what are they going to do? They're going to start laying off staff. And so if they lay off their staff, they can't produce more, they're just going to have to fold. And so as you see, I told him that more companies are going to fold next year and more staff are going to be laid off. And so it's going to be a terrible year for Nigerians as the dollar continues to increase.